On April 29, 1975, as Saigon braced for the impending fall, the United States launched an extraordinary operation that has become a pivotal moment in modern history, codenamed Frequent Wind. This daring plan involved the evacuation of thousands of South Vietnamese officials and their families, as well as a handful of American personnel. What followed was the largest helicopter evacuation in history, a desperate race against time to whisk people to safety amidst the encroaching darkness. As night fell, choppers carrying refugees lifted off from rooftops and open spaces across Saigon, converging at a series of pre-designated rendezvous points. The air grew thick with the sound of their rotors, each one a lifeline away from the chaos below. These evacuation efforts were far from easy. With the North Vietnamese closing in and threatening to cut off Saigon, the clock was ticking. Yet amidst the urgency, there was also heartbreak. Not everyone could be saved. At the height of the crisis, some 7,000 refugees crowded into the U.S. Embassy compound in Saigon, hoping for a miracle. But with limited capacity, agonizing decisions had to be made about who would be evacuated and who would be left behind. The embassy staff worked tirelessly, identifying those deemed eligible for evacuation based on factors like their association with the South Vietnamese government or their perceived risk of persecution under the incoming regime. But with such a huge crowd clamoring for assistance, the situation quickly grew chaotic. Desperation hung heavy in the air as those left behind realized the gravity of their fate. Some retreated to pray, seeking solace in their faith. Others waited anxiously, clinging to the belief that a rescue would come. Meanwhile, as the helicopters took off, each carrying a fraction of those who'd been waiting, a collective sigh of relief swept through the crowd. There was gratitude for the opportunity to escape, yet a profound sadness at leaving their homeland. The scene was both harrowing and inspiring, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit in the face of overwhelming odds. Even as the first rays of dawn illuminated a new day, the evacuation continued. It wasn't until the next morning when Saigon officially fell that the operation truly ended. Looking back, it's hard to overstate the impact of Frequent Wind. The operation rescued countless lives from a perilous fate and offered a chance at a new life abroad. But it also served as a stark reminder of the complexities of war and its aftermath. Frequent Wind remains a haunting chapter in Vietnam's history, a moment when the full weight of war bore down on ordinary people and they had to make impossible choices. It's a testament to the indomitable spirit of those caught in the crossfire of history. In the lead-up to the fall of Saigon, panic had gripped the city, with the North Vietnamese army advancing rapidly and the end seemingly near. Many South Vietnamese citizens feared retribution from the communist regime. As rumors spread about what lay in store for them under the new government, fear turned to panic. People rushed to gather essential supplies, emptying shelves of food and medicine while others hastily gathered documents and valuables. The streets quickly filled with those trying to flee the city. With each passing hour, the exodus intensified, turning into a mass scramble for safety and a desperate bid to secure a better future amid the uncertainty. Amidst this turmoil, a sense of disbelief and disillusionment permeated Saigon. Many had pinned their hopes on the South Vietnamese government for rescue, believing that they would be shielded from the conflict. But as the evacuation efforts ramped up, it became clear that help wasn't on the way. Instead, they were being left to fend for themselves. This realization brought a wave of despair and resignation, casting a pall over the city. Hope seemed to dwindle with each passing moment, replaced by a profound sadness about the uncertain times ahead. However, the story doesn't end here. While some abandoned their homes and possessions, others found themselves unable to leave. Perhaps they were tending to sick relatives, were too young to understand the gravity of the situation, or simply couldn't bear to part with their homes and memories. Whatever the reason, they chose to stay put, hoping against hope that they would somehow weather the storm. Their decision painted a poignant picture of the human condition, highlighting the enduring bonds of family, the comfort of familiarity, and the strength of the human spirit in the face of daunting circumstances. The collapse of the South Vietnamese government sent shockwaves throughout the international community. As news of the fall of Saigon reached global capitals, governments scrambled to respond to the unfolding crisis. Among them was Australia, a country with deep ties to Vietnam and a significant number of Vietnamese Australians. The Australian government moved swiftly, launching Operation New Life to evacuate South Vietnamese refugees. This urgent mission aimed to bring thousands of Vietnamese nationals who had assisted Australia during the war to safety in Australia. With the clock ticking, Australia coordinated with local authorities in Saigon to identify and register eligible refugees. But the task was fraught with challenges. The chaotic situation in Saigon and the sheer scale of the exodus made it difficult to verify identities and process applications. Despite these obstacles, Australian officials worked tirelessly, racing against time to approve applications and arrange for the refugees' swift departure from Vietnam. Once approved, the refugees were transported to temporary holding areas where they received medical checks and essential supplies. From there, they were prepared for their journey to Australia. The evacuation effort was nothing short of extraordinary. Australian officials and aid organizations collaborated to transport refugees by air and sea, providing them with the means to flee the country as quickly and safely as possible. As the last evacuations from Saigon took place, Australia stood ready to welcome these newcomers. Plans were put in place to provide them with accommodation, healthcare, and other support services. The speed and efficiency of Australia's response were crucial. The refugees who arrived in Australia carried with them not only their personal histories, but also the trauma of war and displacement. Recognizing the immense challenges they faced, Australia's government and communities rallied together to offer support. Government agencies worked in tandem with local communities, businesses, and volunteer groups to ensure the refugees' immediate needs were met. Resources were allocated to provide housing, medical care, education, and counseling services, acknowledging that the road to recovery would be long and multifaceted. In the face of adversity, the Vietnamese Australians played a pivotal role in welcoming and integrating their fellow countrymen. Community leaders and organizations stepped up, providing not only logistical support, but also a sense of cultural continuity and understanding. The shared language, customs, and experiences served as a lifeline for the newcomers, helping them navigate the challenges of settling in a new country. As the dust settled on the fall of Saigon, the world looked on at the monumental task ahead for the newly unified Vietnam. Rebuilding a nation torn by decades of war was a daunting challenge. But amidst the destruction and despair, seeds of hope were already being sown. The journey towards healing and reconstruction began with a profound need to address the physical scars left by the conflict. Entire cities lay in ruins, infrastructure was shattered, and agricultural lands were decimated. The task before Vietnam was immense: clearing debris, restoring basic services, and creating a foundation for economic recovery. The Vietnamese people, known for their resilience and determination, rose to meet this challenge head-on. With a spirit of communal effort, they came together to clear rubble, repair roads, and restore essential utilities. They toiled not just to rebuild their communities, but also to reclaim their homeland. The fall of Saigon marked not just the end of a war, but also the start of a new chapter for Vietnam. While the wounds of the past ran deep, the Vietnamese people looked forward with hope, determined to shape the destiny of their unified nation.